Hi, I'm Cut! Hi, I'm Techneco, and this is a knife. Whoa, don't worry. I won't hurt you. Heaven knows I couldn't afford the legal bills. But, if I'm lucky, maybe I made you flinch. Real danger or not. I mean, even horror movies can give you that knee-jerk flinch-way reaction. Even when your friends insisted that the back row was the best row, so you're actually shielded by like 30 rows of seats and some guy named Joel, who you've known since 2nd grade. See, flinching is this natural reaction to avoid getting hurt. It's self-preservation so deeply ingrained that people will happily point it out and pretend it's a flaw in your psychology. Like, haha, made you flinch, I've successfully achieved something completely irrelevant. Everyone pay attention to me before I hit my social peak at the age of 12, Joel! If there's one thing your body wants, no matter how many ironic suicidal memes you post, it's to not die or get hurt or be impaled by small sharp objects which you are entirely sure will help you in the long run. Like really, nurse, you're not gonna tell me it's good for me. I know, I just don't like being impaled on account of the entirety of the process which led up to my creation. You can back away from danger and put your arms out when you fall without even thinking about it, because your reflexes see the ground rushing up to a squishy, malleable, valuable head and just go, nope. Gonna break my wrist instead. And if that was restricted to your body, then provided you didn't get injured, literally ever, you would be absolutely fine. But unfortunately, the tendency for self-preservation fills all cavities, like a dentist on steroids, and it just never leaves you alone. For you to function properly, you need a sound body and mind, and your mind, like a nosy family member, will pretend it knows what's best for you, while only actually being superficially aware of the circumstances. When someone tells you how disappointing you are, like your dad when he finds out you got straight A's because now he can't tell you how disappointing you are, or how much you let the group down, like some kid named Joel when you do literally all of the group work and still get an A-, or how you could potentially improve if you just listen to some completely non-confrontational advice, like the entirety of the front page of DeviantArt, your malleable, valuable, super squishy head seems to just say... Have you ever noticed when you were a kid and one of your friends would... Huh? What? What do you mean you didn't have any friends as a kid? That's dumb. You can be friend with my son. His name's Necteco. I haven't seen him since the divorce. Let me know how he's going. Anyway, ever notice when you were a kid and one of your acquaintances defended an action even though it achieved nothing and convinced absolutely nobody? You know, like when Joel was like, guys, no, Billy made me do it. It wasn't my fault I stole Tech's goddamn awesome mechanical pencil and filled it with sand when he wasn't looking. And literally everyone around was like, yeah, okay, bud, good luck getting that to stand up in court. Though apparently anything can hold up in court because my wife took 2/3 of my house and 7/5 of my soul. But do you think Joel was defending himself from the punishment? Or do you think he was defending himself from having to admit he'd wronged someone for selfish reasons, letting the guilt slowly fester inside of him until he wakes up in a cold sweat one night and realizes going to the deepest, darkest parts of hell for his crimes? It could be either way, honestly. But the tendency is still there. How about when you have conversations with yourself about decisions you're about to make, or even have already made? Man, I could have done that work, but I was just so busy. I mean, I'd came home, I cooked dinner, didn't I? I was doing that, so I couldn't have done the work. Cleaned up after dinner? Did that too? No? And for those of you wondering, this one's called rationalization, and it can be bad for your health. Symptoms include making decisions that don't make any sense, coming to a decision first and trying to figure out why it makes sense later, telling other people about decisions you made even though nobody cares about some insignificant thing you did 6 years ago, nausea, drowsiness, the general feeling that some unseen force has been keeping you down your entire life, and as soon as you stop that force, everything will be great. Patchy sections of the skin, elongated neck, 4 legs, a weird-looking set of touchy-feely boys sitting above your actual ears. It's giraffe. It's definitely giraffe. If symptoms persist, try an objective point of view, a list of pros and cons, take an entirely neutral approach to a situation until further consideration, or contacting a local zoo about housing a new giraffe. It's really easy to get offended and hurt when someone tells you that you're not good enough, or that you've done bad. Because how dare they, right? I mean, how dare they tell you that you're doing wrong? How dare they make criticisms of your life from so far away? They don't know you, right? They don't know what you've been through, what you've done, or what you're going to have to go through. And here they are telling you everything you've done wrong and every mistake you've made and all your flaws. How dare they insult you? Here's the thing though, right? Humans aren't random, no matter how many emo girls on Facebook tell you so. When we do things, we have reasons to do them. So when someone tells you your flaws, they have a reason to tell you your flaws. So seeing as there are multiple reasons, multiple potential responses, and multiple potential outcomes, let's tackle them in the style of a completionist playing a Japanese dating simulator. Let's say someone comes up to you and they tell you you're acting like a bit of a wallaby. Now, the potential motivations include you actually are acting like a bit of a wallaby, they hate you for a secondary reason that you don't know about, they're in a bad mood and taking it out on you, and they're deeply in love with you and want to skip straight to Volume 2 where you go on all the romantic dates. Your potential responses include actually listening to what they have to say, getting angry and offended because they had the nerve to insult you, completely ignoring them and repeatedly saying things like, "Does anyone hear a mosquito or something?" and subscribing to TechNeco on YouTube. I mean, what? So hypothetically, you get angry at them. How dare they, right? You tell them not to judge you so hard, because it hurts. If they were right, you've just given away your opportunity to learn from the views of others and improve yourself. And if they hate you for a secondary reason, you're not helping by being angry at them and acting like their viewpoint isn't relevant. Because that's a perfect way to make this situation worse. I do not understand how that would possibly help. Everyone who hates you for some unreasonable reason now just hates you more, but this time for a reasonable reason. If they're in a bad mood and taking it out on you, then sure, that's not fair, but you're not going to help by fighting back. You're going to make them angrier or sadder, and that's just kind of a wallaby thing to do, so see part A. And if they're in love with you, obviously being angry is throwing away your shot at romance. I mean, come on, don't you want to go on dates? Get married? Have kids? Divorce? Sheila takes the kids and your house and the car and your soul and all your hope, and she just never comes back. So what do we learn from traversing those paths? Being angry isn't helpful. The only thing it protects is your own ego, and that's a dangerous thing to do. It inspires stagnation and isolation and acting like a wallaby. They say anger is fear in disguise, and the idea of having been a bad person your whole life is a scary one. I mean, what if you had spent your whole life hurting those around you without realizing it, and you'd just taken and taken and taken and never given back? What if you were what you are now, not because some deep cosmic force was keeping you down, but because of your own decisions that you have to take responsibility for? Now that would be truly terrifying, because then you would be the only one to blame, and that would hurt, and you don't like pain, so you flinch. You flinch away from the idea of being wrong or bad or broken, not because it isn't true, but because you don't want it to be true, and if you believed it, it may as well be. And the entirety of the past actions would be resting on your shoulders, and they would be heavy, and they would give you probably some kind of back injury, and that would be even worse, because like the spine is some critical component where was this going? Do you know why anger causes such comfort for yourself at the expense of everyone else? Because if you're angry, that makes your conversation a war. And it's a war where letting your guard down gets you hurt, and telling them you're wrong is waving the white flag. A war where they are always attacking and you are always defending, and it will never seem the other way around. Because no matter what you say, you can justify it by believing they deserved it, or that they started it, or that you're morally in the right in the long run, and no minor insult will change that. Not much constructive comes out of wars, mostly just distant stories, black and white photos of triumph against the enemies, and land that you can use to build walls to keep out the idea that you build your kingdom on the pain of others. There's a saying, used to remind people that what's being said is for an explicit purpose other than to attack, that what you're saying is being said for a benefit in the long run. No offense. That should be that reminder, but people have a tendency to skim past the intended meaning of it and complain that the phrase "no offense" was attached to something that was offensive. Now, just for the record, if it was only ever attached to things that couldn't be perceived as offensive, what would be the point? Like, hey man, we're going to the beach, no offense. Oh, why thank you for clarifying. No offense. It's obviously going to be attached to phrases which are otherwise going to be offensive, but the idea behind saying them is that it is for the greater good. It is to try and help and improve and change. It isn't an attack, it's advice. I know the phrase itself is misused too, which doesn't help at all, but try to keep in mind when someone uses it, what they really mean is, bro, I love you enough to tell you your flaws in the hopes you can do the same to me and we can improve together. Remember that when you fight, nobody wins. Somebody gives up, it escalates, or somebody runs away, and somebody is going to get hurt. When the world tries to bring you down, don't fend it off with a sword, because it doesn't help. Look it in the eyes and listen to what it has to say. Even if you don't deserve it, you don't get anywhere with a fight. The covers don't protect you from the monsters. They protect you from the idea of them.
Sometimes I just wake up in the morning and think everything's about to go completely wrong, and then I'm right.
You can? You're actually useful?
I resent that.
And a rate your travel experience card for this trip.
We never made it to the destination. We crashed into a planet, and I'm going to die. Solid 5 out of 10.